Hi, everybody. Welcome. We'll just wait for a few more people to show up and join. Happy Valentine's Day. Yeah, it's good to see every smiling faces. And it's nice sunny LA day. Where's everyone tuning in from? What's the weather like? Are you feeling love? If not, I'm gonna send you some love. Here we go. Little heart, green heart. We have a super fabulous guest today. Um, oh,
Montreal. Yay, Greg. I was born and raised in Montreal. Yeah.
exciting.
Is this Montreal, Canada? Okay, yes.
All right. Maybe wait a couple more minutes. Connecticut. Yeah, Jody Lynn. Yeah, spring is on its way. All right. So I think Elizabeth just showed up. I think we can at least start with the introductions. I'm Rebecca Trujillo Vest with Pandion Music Foundation. Welcome, everyone. Pandion Music is a free online platform empowering artists as they navigate the music industry through educational resources, workshops, wellness guidance, and direct access to experts. We help to provide a constant thread of support for music creators with specific emphasis on uplifting music creators from underprivileged and marginalized communities. And today, Tara, welcome, Tara Shannon. She is an author, recording artist, songwriter, sought after coach, a co founder of a group of companies spanning different industries, which encompasses an artistic centric record label, Willow Sound Records, an education focused coaching at the Grove. At the Grove? Groove.
Grove.
Grove.
Grove. All trees here. Everything has to do with trees.
Oh, good, good. Yay. With an artist career spanning over 3 decades, her music has found resonance with an impressive array of organizations and platforms such as World Youth Days, the Canadian Palliative Care Association of Canada, the Canadian Showtime Chorus, Deborah, DEBRA Canada, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and United Way, among others, earning her numerous accolades along the way. Welcome, welcome. I know this is like a written bio, but can you give us a little introduction about you and a little peek into your life, Tara?
Sure, sure. It's so nice to be here. Hi, everybody in chat, everybody out there. Yeah, so I always say that I'm a songwriter first. So I'm a professional songwriter. I work mostly out of Nashville and Ottawa, Canada. And I'm an artist as well. And I do life coaching for music makers as well. So I recently published a book called You and the Music Business, which is not, it's not a, this is how you make it in the music business. Other people have done millions of books on that. But my focus with my coaching is, to be successful in the business of music, you first to be successful in the business of you. So it's all internal work. It's looking at why do you want to be in the music business? What is the vision of success for your life? And how do you get there? And what's your why? So it's a lot of self inquiry and looking at practical foundational tools to build a business around your music. So that's my entire focus. So I do that. I host workshops and songwriter retreats. Yeah, I sit on a couple boards. I do a lot of things in music all day. Yeah.
What are the boards that you're a part of?
I'm one of the founding members of the Ottawa Music Industry Coalition, which is based in Ottawa. And we work together with the city to implement strategies for Ottawa to become known as a music city and to just support and sustain the ecosystem of music in our nation's capital. I sit on the board as vice president for the Northeastern Region Folk Alliance, which is part of FAI, which is Folk Alliance International. And so I sit on the board for the Northeastern region.
So, Tara, somebody in our community mentioned that maybe is there a way you can put your audio a little louder? That would be great. I could hear you good, but I might have my speakers all the way up.
This is
And
good. Is this
yeah,
better, everybody? That's good. Okay.
yeah, great. Thank you, Tara. Perfect. And so that's quite a handful that you're part of, and you're making such a difference with everything that you do. So you want to tell our listeners how you might have what inspired you to get into the music industry, and then how you ended up making your own, music company and being part of all of this and nonprofit.
Sure. Yeah, my love affair with music started when I was really little, when I was 7, typical piano lessons. And I loved music right from the start. And so I studied the Royal Conservatory of Toronto on piano, and then I picked up the saxophone in high school, and that led me to a scholarship at McGill University in Montreal, where I got to go back to where I was born and raised, and I studied jazz saxophone under Jerry Danovich there. And then I wrote my first song, and I was like, whoa, this is what I want to do with my life, because I was going to be an educator, a performer. I was flirting with music therapy at the time. This was a long time ago. So this would be 32 years ago. So music therapy was just at the beginning of its official schooling. There was only 2 universities that taught it, and I really had my sights set on that. But then my cousin was getting married, and so I wrote a song for her as a gift, which I don't recommend anybody does when they've never written a song before. That's not the place to start on somebody's big day. But luckily mine was okay, and everybody loved it, so it was fine. But I laugh about it now with my coaching clients. And so, yeah, I just fell in love with songwriting. And so that took me down the recording artist path. And I was chasing this thing called a record deal, which I did not understand. Everybody was just like, that's what you need. You need a record deal. And then, so I put out a couple of records, and I did get offered a record deal with an independent label connected to Word Music in the States, I believe, again, many decades ago. And I thought, oh, great, this is it, like, this is the thing. And then they were explaining to me what I would need to do, because I had no idea what it meant to actually sign a record deal. And they're like, it's 2 years, no family, no friends. And I'm like, what? And I had 3 young children at the time. And I was like, that's not going to work for me. Like, I can't do any of the things you want me to do. And so that was when I was learning that that wasn't the vision for success for me. That would have put me in a very stressful situation. And so I kind of did a 180 a little bit, or just, changed my focus from recording artists that required touring and audience building that way to focusing on songwriting, where I built a niche for myself, writing songs for organizations and for events, and also creating fundraising models using recorded music. I went on to have 4 more children. So I have 7 beautiful kids, 5 boys, 2 girls. And during that time, I started a company with their dad, and that grew into a big group of companies, which kept us all fed, because music doesn't do that. Music costs us money, but it is not the way to raise 7 children, especially hockey players, which they all were. And so, so in that part of my life, I was really cutting my teeth on business in general. And I had always been an entrepreneur. From the time I was 16, I started a little music school and taught piano lessons. And I always have had an entrepreneur mind. And so we were very successful in this group of companies, and grew it to about 125 employees in 5 cities. But during that time, I slowly lost my connection with music. I slowly lost my connection with myself and got buried under all these other titles: mother, wife, business owner, all these things. And so my health suffered as a result. I ended up getting very sick. And when I had a health crisis, and I had to make changes in my life, bringing music back into my life was my #1 priority, because my relationship with music changed, because I grieved the loss of the dream. I grieved the loss of this dream that I'd had as part of my life for so many years, about making it, all that language, which in my book we break down. And so I had a really hard time through those years. Just I cried a lot about the letting go of it, but I did resign to it. Fast forward, when I got sick, I was like, I really need music back in my life, but for entirely different reasons now. It wasn't about the tour bus. It wasn't about being famous. It wasn't about touring the world. I realized I needed music in my life because it was just woven into the fabric of who I am. It's just part of my DNA. I need to be expressing and creating and around music to feel happy and whole. And so then it became about, how do I reconcile spending money and time? Life minutes are two currencies we use, money and time. Bringing music into my life when it was never going to convert into something that was tangible, or ROI, return on investment. I wasn't going to be able to justify or recover the thousands of dollars I was spending on music. So I went through that process of really of shifting my mindset and understanding how to build a business around music, instead of waiting for somebody with power to discover me and pluck me from the masses and say, you are specialer than everybody else, and I'm going to elevate you to stardom, and you're going to be rich and famous. That sort of what I now call a toxic mindset, and just build a business around my music. So using all my business skills that I had now developed over these years, I started doing consulting on the side for artists who were trying to figure it out. And then that led to me starting Willow Sound Records in 2015. That led to me putting records out again. And that led to all the coaching and the life coaching and the mentoring that I do. And here we are today.
Wonderful. I love that you included your life coaching with your website of your music, Willow Sounds Records. I'll share that with everybody in the chat now. It's a great story, because you knew that you were good at having a business mind at a young age, and then you went through the whole, gonna get a record deal and musician, and a lot of us in this group have been there, but then you come to this conclusion that in the end it's really up to you. I mean, you're going to have help, you're going to make teams, you're going to possibly get a record deal that does great, who knows, but for the most part, for an indie artist, we're teaching ourselves to be our own business model, our own business way, and that gives us some freedom. It's also some work, right? And also money. So I like how you put, how am I going to make this work for me? And everyone has to find their way. Some people do it through giving vocal lessons or piano lessons or whatever. So yeah, so give us a glimpse into your coaching style, if you're going to do like a group coaching for all of us.
Sure, anytime. Well, I mean, there's different types of sort of sessions that I have. So there's mentorship, which is people come into the space, they're expecting some guidance from somebody, an industry expert or an industry professional. That's mentorship, strategic planning. We do social media planning. We help you develop your brand identity so that it all makes sense. We help you make social media make sense and not burn out using social media. And then life coaching for music makers is a really unique space. So life coaching, which I'm in the process of getting my international certification for, is a different space, because you approach coaching as equals. Doesn't have a hierarchy. And what I love about coaches is you hold space for somebody, and it's a practice of helping the person through questions and self-inquiry to come to the root of whatever they're experiencing resistance with, or what block they're trying to move through. And coaching brings, looks at somebody from the present, and what do you like, where are you now, who are you now, and where do you want to go? And so I really love that process too. It's very unique. There's not a lot of life coaching available specifically for music makers. And I think music makers, music creators have a unique set of challenges, because we're constantly wrestling with ourselves, because it's a curse and a blessing to be a creator. Because it is, if you're a songwriter, it can wake you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you can't go to sleep because it just will not leave your brain. Our antenna is wired a very particular way. So when we hear somebody say something a particular way, or we hear a line in a movie or read a line in a book, it's like, oh, there's a song in there. So the way that we move through the world is also different. And it can also be incredibly frustrating. You know, the ecosystem in music right now is brutal. We have devalued music through the streaming process so incredibly. And the amount of energy and money it takes to build an audience as an independent artist, you know, it breaks most people. They give up eventually because they run out of time or they run out of money. It's so heartbreaking. You know, so what I love about the coaching is it really helps artists and music creators be in alignment with what their why is. So what's motivating them and their vision for success. And then I do songwriting coaching, which I also really love. And songwriting coaching is very different than co-writing. So with a songwriting coach, we give you feedback on where the song is disconnecting from the listener, but we don't give you the solution. We don't fill the line in for you. We just say, here, you know, you got to look at your rhyme scheme here, your length of lines, whatever, but all that stuff. And then, of course, we do like all the other coaching, brand identity and social media management and stuff.
That's cool that you do, like, you take this perspective of listening to a song and you might point out a few things without giving them any how to, like a lot of times you'll hear a music supervisor or somebody say, well, why don't, maybe the drums could be blah, 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 or the vocals can, and so it sounds like you take a different approach, which is putting the power back into the creative mind, but you point something out, which is great.
Well, I mean, yeah, again, the way that we coach is very unique because you'll get a lot of, I'm sure some of you have sent songs into like a service where you get feedback, like a song feedback service and stuff. And
Yeah.
those are great. I did those too coming up, and I have really good friends that run excellent programs for that. What I find happens sometimes is if you write a song and you bring it to people and you keep getting feedback from different places, it can sometimes put the creator in a tailspin and not really know, because you can't really ask family and friends. Like if you play a song for them and you say, you know, what do you think? Like that's the worst thing. You're setting yourself up for confusion. You're also setting up the people who love you, because unless they are a professional songwriter, the only thing they can tell you really are three things. And these three things you really want to know. So instead of, do you like my song? What do you think? If you are going to tap into the people around you, these are the three questions you should ask. Did it make you feel anything? And what was the emotion? Did it make you see a movie in your mind? Were there pictures that came up? And was there a place or anything about it that was confusing? Or where I call them iPhone moments, where in the middle of a song, you suddenly are thinking about checking your notifications. It's because the listener has disconnected. So something in the lyric or something in the way it's being presented is causing the listener's mind to wander elsewhere. And you'll find it in the writing. So those three questions become very powerful and helpful for the people who love you to actually be helpful. If you want to work with professionals, it's really good to find a coach that will give you objective feedback. The problem with songs is people are like, well, it's so subjective. You know, like I could write a song, somebody could love it and somebody could love it. And the experience of the song is subjective, but the tools are not. The craft of songwriting is not subjective. The craft of songwriting has been pioneered and worked by excellent craftspeople through decades and decades of time. And there are definite crafting tools. It's the same as a wood carver or a sculptor. They have tools. And what I find is most songwriters start, and if you liken it to a wood carver, for example, and that wood carver only has a kitchen spoon and a butter knife. Those are the only tools the wood carver is aware that even exist. And they have a block of wood and they have a vision, and they see a lion's face in this piece of wood. That's the muse. That's the connection to all that is. That's the antenna doing the download from the inspiration. And they take their butter knife and their spoon and they chip away at that block of wood until the beautiful lion's face they see in their mind comes through. Now they have the benefit of seeing the lion's face. So they're constantly comparing what's happening with their tools to what's in their head. And then they show it to the family, and the family's like, ooh, what is that exactly? Because it won't be as clear. Now you give the same person a full set of wood carving tools, knives and chisels and files, and then they go to work on the same piece of wood. different story. Same vision of the lion, but the end result is so much clearer and can connect so much more purely because they had the tools. So it's not about right or wrong. It's not about good or bad. It's not about taste, not taste. It's really knowing the tools. So that's what we coach from.
Great. So give us a little peek into those musical tools that you're talking about. And we all
Um,
have our own toolbox, but what would you put
First,
your description of your own musical toolbox?
so I would say for songwriting, the essence of a song, which is lyric and melody, um, you know, the reason you're writing will also come into play right from the start. So if I'm writing just for me to process something in life, I have less of my business hat on and more of just my move through emotions hat on. So there's two parts of our brain as creators. One is the creator part, and then there's the editor part. My editor is very loud. So I'll have one line written, and my editor's always already like, that sucks. Radio will never play it. You'll never get anybody to cover that song. So because I'm very hard on myself, I have to quiet that editor and be like, you'll get your turn. Let me just write something and then you can criticize it, but let me get it out first. So there's that internal sort of knowing yourself and how you write. So I'm writing for me. I really just let it flow. I don't edit too early. And then when I go back and look at it, depending on where the song kind of took me, if it feels like a Tara Shannon song, like it could be for me, then I'll put my editor hat on and I'll look for things like sense-bound language. Pat Pattison is excellent for this if you're looking for a great resource. Sense-bound language is language that triggers one of our five senses. So sight, taste, sound, touch, smell. And when we have sense-bound language in our writing, because the only way we have an experience as a human being is through our senses. We experience being human through our senses. Take away all of our senses and we don't connect with anything. So it's really important, if you want the listener to connect with what you're saying, to trigger their senses. So sense-bound language is one tool. There can be informational language, because obviously we need informational language to move the story along. Really excellent songwriters combine sense-bound language with informational in a beautiful way that you don't even realize it's happening. Bob Dylan comes to mind. There are so many. John Prine comes to mind. Joni Mitchell, Leonard Cohen, that kind of really artistic type of writer. Country music does an excellent job of it. I'm going to clarify what section of country music, because country music means so many things right now. So not necessarily what we call bro country, but like, let's say 90s country for right now. And now Beyonce, who is showing us the way in country space. So sense-bound language, informational language, I'll look at where did I position them, because I want sense-bound language first, followed by informational. The length of lines. A longer line followed by a shorter line will give a certain sensation. A short line followed by a longer line gives another sensation. I'll look at my rhyme scheme and make sure that nothing feels like I'm reaching for a rhyme. I will look at, depending on whether I'm trying to pitch it and what genre and stuff, making sure that the verse, that the listener knows we're in the chorus. When we're in the chorus, that it distinctly feels like we're in the chorus, that there's a lift, there's a shift, there's a change in the chord structure, there's an elevated piece of the melody. Yeah, so I'll look at different song structures, which there's all kinds of song structures. Right now it's really popular in popular commercial music. It's like V1 pre-chorus, chorus, V2 pre-chorus, chorus, bridge, chorus is a very typical structure. But there's refrain structure, which is like a verse with a one or two line tag at the end, and then another section with a one or two line instead of a whole dedicated chorus. Yeah, so structure. Yeah, and then I mean, one of my tools too is to leave it and not think about it for a bit, come back to it and see if it still feels great. And then I usually put my kids through the exercise, and they love it, but they do it, but they don't love it. They roll their eyes and they're like, seriously? I make them sit there. And I was like, okay, sit here and listen to the song. And I'll give you a funny story of one song that I wrote. It was called 16 Summers. And the idea for the song was, mom holds her baby for the first time and you think you have forever, but you really only have 16 summers, because as soon as they get their license, they get their independence, and they're off and out in the world, right? That was my thinking. So I write the song. I sit my daughter Kiara down. She's my sixth, and I was like, "Okay, tell me, did you feel anything? Is anything confusing? And did it show you a movie in your head?" So I'm singing at the piano. I'm singing my little song, and halfway through the song, she goes, and she gets like this really concerned look on her face. So I finished the song, and I was like, "What's wrong?" And she goes, "Does he die?" And I was like, "What?" And she goes, "Does he die when he's 16 in a car crash?" And I'm like, "No." I'm like, "He gets the keys and then he has freedom." And she goes, "Oh, no, it sounds very much like he dies at 16." So I went back through the lyric and I totally found what was triggering that for her the way I had written it. I was like, "Yeah, no, that's not what I was trying to tell the story about." So yeah, that's another tool I use is my children because there's a lot of them and they're always around.
Oh, so that's how you had so many children. I get it now. No, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
right. Little tax shelters, all kinds of reasons.
Um, you're using your resources. You're taking you're taking the tools and you're what resources do you have access to, which is great because then it's not going to be the same for everybody. And so that's wonderful. And yeah, in our community, sometimes there's listening sessions with different music groups or with our group once in a while, or if so there's variations of how people might get their music listened to. It could be sometimes it's for free, or sometimes it's a paid group. I don't know, but it just depends. In our nonprofit, we're free, and our whole mission is to help people, and I think we're aligned here, Tara, because um, you know, it looks like you care and you're extending that to, giving your precious time, which already being a mom and songwriter and running a company, and then also allowing yourself to make time to be on two boards. So that's incredible and awesome. And how do you manage all that with your time and what's your balance?
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I learned balance the hard way. Burnt out twice over the years.
Right.
And
And how did you overcome that?
oh yeah, I'm always quick to say that if somebody's like, "Oh man, how do you fit it all in?" Well, I had to learn how to do it the right proper way. So what was motivating me before is a sense of I'm supposed to do all of these things. I
Right.
have to do all of these things to be relevant or for people to like me or any of that. And once I got sick, when I was recovering, that all flipped. And so there was a professor that I don't know where I saw this, I think on Facebook or something. And you may know this story where he was in front of the class in a big jar and he had golf balls and he had some smaller stones and he had sand and he had water. And so he put the water in the jar first and then tried to put the other elements in and everything spilt over and nothing could fit in. And then he started again. And he said, if you start with the golf balls and then you put the smaller stones in, it fills the cracks between the golf balls. And then if you take the sand, it fills the cracks between those items. And then you put the water in and it
Mm.
fills everything in. So the point being that when you have your values and your connection to self uh, in alignment first, that's your golf balls. And what are the things that matter to you? You put those in first. So for me, that became my health because I had no choice. I couldn't do anything until I was healthy, which is true of everybody. I just had to learn it the hard way. And then the things that really make me feel alive. What are the things that I'm super passionate about, which is coaching? It's empowering artists, helping them realize they're not crazy. The system is crazy. I love that. And then songwriting, creating, and my family. So those are my golf balls. And then the rest you can fill in. So when you decide how to spend your time, when you're doing it from that value system first, you'd be shocked at how much time you actually have to put in. And I also stopped multitasking because we cannot actually multitask. We do everything not well. So I started to focus on my tasks instead of trying to multitask, and that made the world of difference.
Yes, I used this analogy yesterday because I was on a live stream for wellness. Actually, we do a live stream on Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific time, and they're live on Instagram and Facebook, and we always have some sort of, healer or yoga teacher or therapist or someone who I'm talking to. And yesterday, I was talking about this idea after we had done this 9 o'clock segment about how maybe you are in a place of a bunch of people, you're in the center, and you're having a conversation, and how you could keep that person you're talking to in color, and then and then everyone else kind of fades into like the the exterior, like a gray. Not that those people are gray or anything, but it helps you focus on that in front of you, which it could be good for musicians as well when you're working on a project or you have this time amount slotted for this song, is like all of the busyness, the social media, the phone, the blah, 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 inner dialogue that's not necessary can be the outer gray. And then what's your rainbow right in front of you or color is your mission or who you're talking to. And I
Yeah,
thought that was a super helpful way to imagine it.
it's a great tip. That's a great tip.
So well, your golf ball jar, I like that. You could also apply that with music, making a song, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you like, one of the tools we use is song mapping, which saved my life. And when my songwriting mentor in Nashville is a multi-hit songwriter, we became fast friends, and he taught me about song mapping, and it was so frustrating. I was like, I want nothing to do with this. This is too slow, and I don't like this. And he's like, if you don't know what you're trying to say, why would you jump into lyric right away? So like his this tool of song mapping, what it does is like it helps you as the writer define who's talking to who in your idea. So you get your song idea, you get your point of your inspiration. That could be a hook, it could be a riff, a little melody, it could be a lyric line, whatever. Like you don't analyze it at that point. You just capture that. And then you think, okay, interesting. How could I tell this story? Like I've got an idea for a story. So how could I tell this story? Well, it could be a mother talking to a daughter, it could be a father talking to his son, it could be a best friend. You know what I mean? So who's talking to who? And you can try it different ways, which I love about song mapping. And then who's talking to who about what? Like what if you're gonna boil down what this song is about in 3 to 5 words, like boy meets girl, they fall in love, live happily ever after. That's a story that has made a million different things. Books, novels, poems, movies, music theater, Broadways, like that is the core story that we see over and over again. So what is the core story? Who's talking to who about what, when, deciding on the tense of the story. And there's power in telling it in the now. There's power in telling it in the past, and a different power in telling it in the future. So playing with those. And who's talking to who about what, when, where. Is there a setting? What is the setting? And the why. Why is this character saying what they're saying? And so a song map answers all of those questions and also gives a map of, okay, the story inside the story. And the one that I use as an example in my workshops is Katy Perry's song Roar. Like if you look at the structure of her song and you break it down, her V1 is all about it's like, you tried to keep me small, or you tried to keep me down, right? And she says it, and then it's all the lyrical ways she said it. And when you're doing the song map correctly, you should be able to tag that line at the end of the lyric. I can pull that up if you guys want to see it. Do you want me to share my screen?
Sure.
Okay. Let me do this, and because this is actually a really good tool that people might find super super helpful. And I just have to go to the right. So yeah, so it's the story inside of the story. Let's pull it up, and then I will share my screen. Do I have that ability?
Does she? Yes, looks like.
Yes, perfect. Okay, great. I cleaned up my desktop too, so I don't feel shy.
Oh, good.
My showing my screen. Okay, can everybody see that? Is that big enough for everybody?
Yes, I could see it. Could everyone else see it?
Thumbs up, everybody? Okay.
Yeah.
So right. So let's look. So this is her lyric, and I choose a pop song because the lyric tends to be more conversational, and it's a little bit easier to get the concept of it. So her lyric is, I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath, scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I sat quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past the breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. She's got beautiful rhyme schemes in there, and if you can call the melody to mind, you know that there's power in that. You already know from the title, Roar, we already are set up for what the story is going to be. So roar, what do we hear? We hear loud, we hear power, we see a lion. There's so much that lives just inside that word, okay? But if you take all of her lyric and you were to boil it down to one statement, it could be, I tried to be a good, quiet girl. Everything she says in V1 points to and supports the internal thought of, I tried to be a good, quiet girl. So then you check it. I used to bite my tongue and hold my breath. I tried to be a good, quiet girl. Scared to rock the boat and make a mess. I tried to be a good, quiet girl. Can you feel how there's symmetry and flow with those ideas? It doesn't take us anywhere else. It's just saying the same thing, okay? If you look at V2, you held me down, but I got up, already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice. You hear that sound like thunder going to shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Get ready because I had enough. I see it all. I see it now. So that boils down to, you tried to keep me down. Her chorus boils down to, but you're going to hear me now. The next section, which is sort of like a pre or a half verse, because I'm finding my voice. Now I'm floating like a butterfly, stinging like a bee. I earned my stripes. I went from zero to my own hero because I'm finding my voice. Okay, so now when you read the song map, this is the key to song mapping. When you read the internal, foundational, core idea in each section of your song, it should read like a story. I tried to be a good, quiet girl. You tried to keep me down, but you're going to hear me now because I'm finding my voice. Even though you tried to keep me down, you're going to hear me now. So just with that, we know who's talking to who. We know about what. We know where, all the imagery of the jungle and the lion and the fire and the tiger and all that. And we know when she tells her lyric in the past where she was disempowered, and the chorus is in the now, which has the full power, because the now is the most powerful point of telling a story. So, and then the why. Why is this character saying that? Because she's done. She's had enough. She's like, you're going to hear me now. This is me roaring. I'm done. I'm leaning in. I found my voice. So just through that song map, now we did this exercise backwards. Okay, so if you've got a song idea like roar, okay, who's talking to who, about what, when, where, why, you would put together this song map first. You tried to keep me down. What are all the things we can say lyrically that point to that? So that's the exercise of song mapping. I'm happy to send this to you guys too. I'll download and make a document for you if you want.
Oh, that would be great. I'm sure our listeners would love that. Thank you. I mean, and this is a perfect example of song mapping, and I think that it's one of the better ones I've seen in a while. So thank you so much for sharing that. That's really helpful.
And if the process is frustrating, as my mentor tells me, it's because you don't really know what you're trying to say yet. You don't really know what your story is about yet. That's why you're frustrated. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you could take those lines that are so simple and turn them into your song map, right? You could even go really cheesy and not even, and use that idea and go back to what you just showed, the song mapping. And that's
Totally.
a great way to do it. So you
Yeah.
get that idea and you
Yeah,
just,
it's also not rigid. It's a fluid exercise. So in my retreat, sometimes what will happen when I'm working with songwriters, they'll start with a song map idea, but then they get into the lyric and they come up with a great lyric idea that is just dying to be in the song, but it's taking the song in a different direction. So go back and change your song map. Like it's a back and forth thing. It helps stay focused. And I also find it really useful because in Nashville, when I go into a room with people I've never met, so I'm with one or two other professional songwriters, and you have 3 hours. So it's really helpful to have a tool to be like, okay, like, what are we thinking this idea could be written as? And everybody kind of feels their way through which direction could make sense. And so it helps keep everybody on track and sort of serving the song, which is what songwriting, like serving that hook is what it's about.
how wonderful. And then so you have your So in a 3 hour session or 2 hour session that you might have in Nashville, is it, and you're doing the songwriting part, what about when you start putting the melody into it and also when you start having the idea of the production around it? What are your steps usually, like your musical toolbox?
A musical toolbox for melody is number one thing is the natural shape of language. So tone. So let me take a step back. The way that we communicate as human beings is 55% nonverbal communication when we see each other, right? We're looking at each other. 55% of the vibe we're getting in the communication is coming from nonverbal subconscious cues between us. 38% is the tone that we're using, and the rest is the actual words. Okay. So why does this matter? When you're singing a song live on stage, you're getting the benefit of the 55% visual cues. So your body, the way you're singing it, is helping the audience understand what you mean. In the recording arts, we lose 55% of the way we communicate. We are reduced to just tone and words. And in music, that's melody and lyric. So melodic structures affect the reception of the words. So if I'm speaking and I say to my daughter, Kiara, come here, she'll come running. If I say the same words and I go, Kiara, come here, she is not running. She's going to run away because she can hear mommy is not happy. Same words, different tone. So in my melodic toolbox, I'm looking for the natural shape of language. So I will often walk around my house without an instrument and sing the lines. Like like we're gonna make dinner now. Everybody come to the table. Like you're just singing everyday language to kind of loosen up the melodic muscle. So
Mhm.
natural shape of language, and the element of the craft that replaces body language in everyday communication is phrasing. I cannot stress this enough. Go back over your song and underline the words that are landing on the strong and weak beats of the bar. Because the way a listener's brain is wired is what lands on the one. So if you're in a 4 time, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 3 are strong, 2 and 4 are weak. 1, 2, 3, 4. Whatever word is landing on the strong beat of the bar is like glue for the listener's brain. That is what they're going to hear. The BPM, beats per minute of a song, the speed affects this process. The faster the song, the less sticks, which is why the faster the song, the more simplistic the lyric should be, medium or slow. If it's in a 3 time, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the strong beat is the 1. So when you've written a song and you feel pretty good about it, it feels like it's sitting in the pocket for you, go back and count out the beats and underline the words that are landing on 1 and possibly 3 if you're in a 4 time. And if it's landing on the, of, in, as, he, she, you want to double check the shape of that phrase, because you want to ask yourself, is that the important piece of this phrase, or should I shuffle my timing to get a word, a sense-bound word or descriptive word or something landing on the strong beat so that the listener's brain will grab it? It helps tremendously with connection and less confusion.
Wow, that's so good. I mean, like, you've combined a lot of different uh, tools and techniques in just that little bit. So thank you for that. That's really great. I'm going to open it up to questions because I mean, I can't believe all that information that we just covered and it's already
I know,
11:45.
it goes by
We
so
could keep
fast.
going. And
I
so
talk a
it's
lot.
so interesting. So this is exactly why we probably want to, you know, utilize these kind of tools that you're sharing with us. And that's why, because it's so interesting as a songwriter. And some of us have heard different elements of this before, but it's great how you framed it and put it together like that. So anyway, anybody have any questions, you can put it in the chat or you could raise your hand. Um, and I will wait for a second, but also we are always, striving for being the, whether you're the artist or you're getting your music for licensing. So the common theme lately is write the music that you are passionate about, that is who you are, and then find elements to make it to use it for licensing usefulness. Do you agree with that technique? In terms of, some people also just write for licensing. So, but I'm hearing more and more from supervisors and agencies that they want authentic sound from that, whether it is a group or an individual. So what is your take on that?
Oh, if we're talking sync, is that what you mean? Sync
Yeah.
licensing? Okay.
Mhm.
Sync is its own animal. Everybody's chasing sync because it's where more of the money is made right now. So that's why there's lots of conversation around it, because publishing took a hit with streaming. And so sync pays, it pays upfront money and it pays back end royalties. Somebody wants to come into the room. Do you want to? Okay. Um, uh, so yeah, okay. You have to, it's not a one size fits all with sync. There's a couple of ways to look at it. Create music, record music. Like if you're an artist and you're recording music to build an audience for yourself and you're working towards a sustainable living in music, you want to write for you and your audience. And if your style, you want to make sure you have access to your stems. So stems are, everybody knows digital recording here. So it's the ability to go in and break down groups of tracks in case a music supervisor needs to change a mix on your song. Okay, so write for you, build your audience, build a relationship with music supervisors. The Music Supervisors Guild is a great place to start. You can go to conferences and build relationships. Just remember that every business, and particularly the music business, is relationship based. Things move very quickly, and people in a music supervising job, they need to trust the sources that they work with for their catalog. So a big no-no would be to spam a music supervisor with 12 different tracks, and they do not have time. They don't have time to go through your 12 tracks. They don't care about you, and they don't care about your life or music. They care about their job, which is to find this one piece that the director is going to. Greg, there's a big thumbs down on your screen. It's so funny. It's one of those like interactive. It's new on Zoom where if you make certain hand motions, an emotion pops up. But I agree with you. It is a thumbs down. So what you want to do when you're pitching, so first create from a place of authenticity for you. What's your why? And if your why involves building an audience, creating sustainable living, you're an artist, you create for that. And then you pitch when it applies. So you get really, so what you want to look for is build relationships so that you get briefs. Briefs is the breakdown of what a music supervisor is looking for and when. And then be very careful what you pitch. Make sure that what you send matches that brief really closely. And if you do that and you start building a relationship where they know you're not a waste of time, they will continue to open your emails. Don't put big, long emails, very short, very concise, and nail the pitch from their perspective. So come at it not from, oh my God, this could be so great for me. I could get a song in Game of Thrones if they were still filming. You want to come at it from, how is my music going to solve this supervisor's problem? How is this going to make their life easy? Come at it from that place. So that's one way. The other way, if you are a composer and a producer, Mariano, it looks like you might, are you a producer? Just from your setup, it looks like you might, are you a track producer? So you create tracks,
yep.
Beats, that kind of thing. Excellent. So in your case, for example, you could write to the brief, and which is great. So if you are able to produce things that are fast, and your turnaround time is fast and it's on the money, and you build relationships with supervisors, they will keep coming back to you to solve problems quickly for them. So it's two different approaches. And not all catalog music for artists is appropriate for sync. And here's the reason why. The function of music, when it is synced to a visual, is to support and assist the story being told on the visual plane. When you release a song by itself, the song itself has to do all the work of telling the story. So sync music is more like adding texture, context, an extra layer to a story already being told. And that's the biggest difference between writing for sync. And if you happen to have a song in your catalog that might function as sync in some cases.
Those are great comments and additions. So, Mariano, do you want to go ahead and I'm going to unmute. You can ask your question.
Sure. Hi, Tara. I'm Mariano. Thanks
Hi,
for
nice to meet
taking the
you.
time here.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I was just curious what your strategy is when you get blocked up. I'm more of a producer and a melody guy, so I find lyrically I tend to get blocked up a lot. And you know, do you tough it out? Do you move on to something else? How do you? Because you know, especially you said sometimes you're in these 3-hour sessions and your goal is to finish the song in 3 hours. How do you navigate if you know maybe you get blocked lyrically?
We do. Great question. So we look at that before the session is even set up. So as a publisher myself, if I'm putting my writers in a room, I'm consciously aware that writer so-and-so is very good at lyric. Writer so-and-so is super great at melody. I think they'll make great song babies together because they complement each other. So it's in the matching first, but then when you're in the room, you kind of lean into each other's strengths, and sometimes you do get stuck and you make a session. But in your case, accessing somebody who can top line might help you with that. So have you heard the term top lining?
Sure. Like, is that more lyric and melody based?
That's lyric and melody and singing. So working with somebody who's really great at top lining. So you build a track that's super cool and has a vibe, and even put in some melodic ideas that you have, and work with somebody who will just have that playing around the house while they're walking around and just singing ideas and lyrics and see what they hear, and they become a co-writer in that process.
Sure.
And if you need a couple of leads, I have some talent that's really good at that. Reach out to me anytime. But that is a way to help you get unstuck and really focus on what you're great at, and not stress out over, you know, the parts that may not come as easily.
Sure. Got it. Thank you.
Michelle, you don't like the term top line, and it is a second class and demeaning in your humble. Okay, explain.
Go ahead and I'll unmute you, Michelle.
Okay, great. So hi, Tara. I love that you're here and you're doing this. So it's so interesting to me because, again, I've had over 6,000 syncs and hit songs with major label artists all over the world.
Amazing.
And I've written with some of the most famous, amazing songwriters. And never once have we ever used a song map. And never once have we thought this way. And that doesn't mean it's not a good idea. I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I've just never seen it done. So this is very interesting. And now in terms of top line, when a songwriter writes a melody and a lyric, that is the song.
Yep.
If a songwriter writes to a track, then the track writer is a songwriter because the track came first. But calling that melody and lyric writer a top liner is always second class. The track guy always is God or girl. They are God or goddess.
Yeah.
What they decide goes. They can give the track to 20, 30 people, the same track, and then decide whose melody and lyric are correct. All of that really irritates me. And when people are called top liners, it's like their contribution is second class to that track, which is, to me, not a production. It's a musical track. And that's why I say that top liners and that term is very demeaning for the people who are actually writing the song. So I don't like it.
I hear that. I get that perspective. In this particular case with Mariano, what I was thinking is that he would also be offering the melody in the track as well if he hears it because he was hearing the melody. But you're absolutely correct. The lyric and melody is the copyrighted part of a song. It is the song. So, but I think the process of like what I see in like hip hop and pop and in those spaces is that's just a term we use for the function of it, but it isn't in our spaces seen as secondary or less than because they're credited equally. It's just the idea of
Not always.
Yeah.
Not always. Not always credited equally. And I think that just being here at this forum of people, we should eliminate that term, call those people the melody and lyric writer like they used to in my day before there was no such word as top line, because I've been doing this 44 years as a professional. That's a newfangled term, and
Yeah.
it is definitely demeaning. So I just like us all to think about this and perhaps not use this term, especially to call ourselves top liners, because we are giving all the power away to the track person. And
Yeah.
that's just that. I mean, that's just, you know, a thought, just like your song map for me is a thought, you know, that top line thing is just a thought.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah, I think it's a tool, it's a function. And for the song mapping, also to clarify, when I'm in a room with other professional writers, we song map automatically. There's no conversation about song mapping because everybody knows that needs to be done. So their mind's already doing it. But for developing writers, it's a really great tool.
Yes, I want to make a comment on, there's an analogy I have in my head when I was talking to some of the headmasters at my son's school, Ravi, he's 13, and one of the directors said, you know, because it was lower school, middle school, high school, and they all agreed that they didn't like the term lower school because it made it sound like you know, instead of elementary school.
Yeah.
So they went back to using elementary. I think we get caught up in the description. However, I think the top line is still respected on a high level, Michelle, but I get what you're saying. I think that because you've done this for so long and then suddenly this term came and it sounds like, oh my God, but I think instead of getting caught up in the word, we just honor the art and take it like that. I'm sorry, I'll unmute you for a second. Go ahead. Wait. Well, we can't.
Again, I've been doing this at such a high level for so long that I have been treated with respect when I have been referred to as a top writer. So I know this firsthand in rooms full of track writers and music creators. The person who is the top liner is treated with less respect. So it's awful. Yes, it is awful. And that's why I bring it up. Okay. So it's not treated equally and not looked upon equally. And I am a producer as well and make music. So I do wear all those hats, but the hat of being called a top liner in the room of those writers is less respected. And they all need that person, of course, because they can't write the melody and the lyric, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I just think about it. Just pay attention, everybody, to how you're treated and make sure that you're treated with respect. Yeah.
Like Anelda here, Spence, her and her husband are a team, and Sean Spence, both Dynamo, and they work together, but Anelda has her art form and she combines with her husband's art form. And so as she commented in the chat, she just looks at it like, you know, she doesn't feel less than the producer, just her 2 cents of feeling like as long as we have the splits and we have the responsibility of how we're going to contribute to the song, that's what she cares about. And so, but I hear you, Michelle. So that's an interesting.
Yeah, they might not feel like less, but they're treated like less. They're considered to be less, and they might not feel that way. And that's fantastic.
That's fantastic.
But that's not the norm. If you really get out in the world with all the major writers and major labels and A&R guys, that's not how it's seen.
Well, thank
No,
you.
and it's an echo. It's a reflection of the entire industry. Like the whole industry is an upside down pyramid where the music creator is at the bottom and everybody else, all like the agents and managers and labels and all are above, they all make more money than the creator, but the entire thing rests on the creator. It's the only element you cannot remove. You can get rid of everybody else. You get rid of everybody except the creator, and they are treated the least with the least amount of respect and often have to fight for their money. So I think what you're saying, Michelle, is echoed in just the way the whole industry can be sometimes made worse by digital recording, in my opinion, sometimes.
Do we have time for one more question, Tara?
Yeah, I'm not in a rush. No.
Lillian, I'm going to ask you to, there we go. Go ahead. Lillian.
Hi everyone. Thank you
Hi,
for being
welcome.
here, Tara. I want to know how to get into one of those writing rooms that you speak of. That's what I want to know. I'm in Nashville at the moment. And I moved here specifically because, I had moved a lot for other people. And then I finally asked myself, like, what do I want? Where do I want to be? So I was like, I'm going to Nashville. And I want to know, I'm an artist as well. So I kind of like go back and forth between, like you were talking about, that battle of like prioritizing like stepping into the spotlight or prioritizing like making money as well. And I would love to get into a writing room. How do I do that? How do I build that portfolio and get that into the hands of the right people?
Great question. Nashville's an amazing town. It can also chew you up and spit you out and
It's a mixed bag of things here.
Yeah, just don't give your power away to it. Remember, it's just a town, and it's a big industry town. So a lot of things are big money. It's just how it works. So how do you get into those rooms? Great question. First thing is work on your craft. Make sure that you are working on your craft every day. Find people who are on the same rung of the ladder as you. So if you're on this rung, don't try to reach for somebody that's 6 rungs higher than you right away. Find people who are at your development level, same stage of career, make friends, network, practice being in room with them, co-write. Work on your craft, then build relationships. So you want to go to industry things, industry networks, you want to go to events, you want to connect with people, anything that's free. And if you're in Nashville, there's something all the time everywhere. And you want to be super selective, like really listen to the kind of music somebody makes. And if you genuinely feel like there's an artistic connection there, if you really feel like, hey, your style of music, the way you write lyric or the way you come at this or your melodic structure, I think really complements the way I do things. And have a reel ready. Just voice memos of you. You don't have to spend money on this. Just make sure it's clear, your vocals clear, your lyrics clear. Have that at the ready through a link tree or something, and send that to someone. Just, I would love to write with you. I love your vibe. I love your style. And that's how you start. And then eventually when you have a catalog and you have some stuff going on, you might want to reach out to some publishers and ask for a sit down and just say, hey, I'd love to come in and play some of my songs for you. And I'm new to town. I'm trying to build my network, and I won't waste your time. I've got a couple of songs, I'd love to hear your thoughts. It's that simple.
That's such good advice for me, especially because I feel like I have been trying to get my tracks to a level where they're like radio ready, but it feels like it's working against me sometimes because I do need the connections as far as like I play guitar, but it's not my calling, okay? Like but so like I need to make those connections. Now I'll say sometimes I feel like I've been reaching down almost as well, just because not knowing how to like get into the spaces where there are people that I feel like, oh, I actually do love what you're doing. You know what I mean? And so that's great advice for me to just have something where I can just demonstrate what I've written instead of having it be perfect.
Absolutely. I would not spend a dime on recording, unless you're putting out a record for yourself as an artist. If you're pitching or anything like that, no, because you have no, like like big name producers, that work with the big talent. Some of them want to hear a pitch with a full production, and some of them want to hear a break, like a voice memo. So you really know what the best pitch is for that artist. Like if you get like pitch sheets where you see who's recording when and what kind of songs you're looking for and all that kind of stuff. Don't spend money on that stuff when you're pitching. The other thing to trust in that town, which is good and bad, it's a very predatory town. like LA, like New York. This is not unique to Nashville. But it can be a great thing because buzz is super powerful. Buzz is not hype. Hype is you telling everybody you're great. Buzz is letting the music do it for you. So trust the process. If you are making great songs, people will find you. That is actually true. Through the community, if you're out there doing open mics or you're doing songwriter rounds and stuff, and your songs are killer and connecting, trust me when I tell you, people that need songs will start conversations with you. So let the songs do the work for you, but get out there in network and show off your stuff.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I have my first show at the end of the month. I'm just gonna pop in at someone else's show, and they invited me to do a little bit, so I'm gonna start there, and I appreciate that advice.
Excellent. Good luck with that.
Thank you, Lillian. All right, I think that's all we have for today. But there was a question in the chat. Do producers need to reach out to publishers to get their music to bigger artists?
That's one way to do it. That is a way to do it. Again, rung of the ladder, like be consciously aware of who you can access more depending on where you're at in your development. Producers start developing relationships with labels, also management for artists. So it's not just publishers. It's very incestuous. The music business is very incestuous. You know, everybody kind of, you know, hooks up with everybody. You know, if talent just finds its way, if you've got a killer song. So publishers is definitely one way though, for sure.
And you can almost say that about anything in life. We find our groups, you know, whether it's like the moms group or the boys club with the corporate, you know, place, or it's the, you know, the acting group, you know. So we find each other, we meet each other, and then we merge in. So Elliot, I'm sure you're already on the path. Thank you, everybody, for coming. So excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't forget, on Tuesdays, we have our 9 a.m. wellness live stream, and on Facebook and Instagram. On Wednesdays, we always have our workshop, usually at 11 a.m. Pacific time. And if anyone wants to connect with Tara, we've put her information in the chat. I will also put it again in the chat now. And Anna, will you put a little bit about the Pandion Music Foundation information? I want to invite anybody who has something that they want to share about Pandion, send us at hello@pandionmusicfoundation.org. If you have like a comment, or if we're helping you or anything like that, you know, sometimes we'll publish your comment if we can show our supporters how we're rated on our nonprofit. We are a 501c3 and we depend solely on donations. So thank you everyone for showing up. We're so happy to have you, Tara. That was such great wisdom. If you want to rewatch this, we'll have a replay. And are you doing Ask Me Anything? I don't remember if that was something that you
yeah, that's in your Facebook group, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so over the next few days, I'll check in there and you can ask me anything there. I put the link for my book too. I'll also send you, Rebecca, I'll send you a copy of the ebook, which is the same thing. You can send it out to your members for free. All I ask is if you like it and there's some wisdom in there, please just encourage other people to read it. That'd be great.
Great. Well, I'll let Anna figure out how she wants to share that. And thank you so much, everyone. Have a beautiful rest of the day. Send some love to whether it's your family or your friends or your furry animals or.
All right. Happy Valentine's, everybody. Bye.
Bye.